This is All India Radio. Radioscope, the National Science Magazine program.
Namaskar and welcome to the November edition of Radioscope, the National Science Magazine of Akashvani. I am Sruthi.
And I am Chetan. Each month we bring you a journey through the world of science, technology, innovation, and the remarkable individuals and events shaping our nation's scientific spirit.
November, the month of crisp mornings, autumn hues, and reflections on our scientific and cultural heritage, is filled with days of national importance, discovery, and remembrance. Let us take you through some of the highlights of this eventful month.
We begin with the celebration of Prasar Bharati Foundation Day, observed on 23rd November. Established in 1997, Prasar Bharati stands as the autonomous public broadcasting agency of India, the proud parent organization of Akashvani and Doordarshan. Over the decades, it has served as the voice and vision of India, reaching every corner of the country with news, culture, and science communication. On this special occasion, Radioscope salutes all scientists, communicators, and broadcasters who make knowledge accessible to every listener.
This November, India celebrates the 150th anniversary of Vande Mataram, the timeless song written by Shri Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay in 1875. This song, rich with patriotic fervour, later became a rallying cry for India's freedom movement.
As we mark this milestone, we also recognize the science of sound and music and how patriotic compositions like Vande Mataram have inspired generations to work towards national progress, not only in culture and art, but also in science, innovation, and self-reliance.
We begin today's program with a tribute to that legacy, revisited by Srimati Rupashree Mukhopadhyay, a direct descendant of Shri Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay, through the emotional, cultural, and historical journey of the song that unified India.
Vande Mataram, as such, is not just a song, it's the soul of India's national identity. And I feel when it was written and till date, whatever modernization the world has faced, Vande Mataram has not lost its identity as a national song. It still inspires citizens of India to stand unified and to beckon the freedom fighting spirit and nationalism. I take this pride of being this part of this Vande Mataram. It is not just a patriotic song. We find our identity in that because in the song, in the lyrics, motherland or the country has been depicted as mother. And there is a very heartful connection with the mother. So it creates goosebumps every time we echo or we hear it echoing or we sing it, because we can find a soul connection with the song, and this awakens the spirit of patriotism even to the current day Indians, even in this particular era of modernization or digitalization or globalization, because finally this song is reminding us of our roots, of our cultural unity, and how to uphold the national values amidst all this technological advancements. So I feel this song is not just a song, it's an emotion which connects the hearts of Indians. And we as Indian citizens, we are often divided by race, economy, power, but still it stands as a unifying call, and it urges us to cherish the freedom, the harmony, and motivates us for a selfless service to our nation.
November saw World Diabetes Day, and with rising cases across India, the science behind diabetes is evolving faster than ever.
To understand the frontline research from genetics to new technologies, we feature Dr. Giriraj Chandak of CSIR-CCMB, a leading name in diabetes genomics and molecular medicine.
For a long time, diabetes was considered as a problem of pancreas, and because of less of insulin or more of insulin. The major issue in this regard has been that family history, or if you take the context of families, one would find that the kids of parents who both are diabetic, they are more likely to be diabetic. And that is what led to the proposition that probably there is some sort of a genetic contribution which is happening, which is actually true. So a large component of the diabetes is described by, the genetic components. But then it is also true that not all the kids who are born to parents with diabetes, they develop the diabetes. So in that context, there is an influence of environment, and that is what is known to be important in modulating the risk, which is transferred by the genetic constitution of an individual. And that is what is the exciting phase, because you cannot change the genetic constitution of an individual, but then by environment, which I mean that physical activity, reduction of obesity, and many other factors, it is possible to ameliorate type 2 diabetes in particular. I think there is a paradigm in non-communicable diseases which talks about prevention of the disease rather than really managing this at a time that the disease is so high in its prevalence. Hence, the idea will be to prevent the occurrence of disease, and this is where we have done fundamental research for last 2 or 3 decades. What we have found is that the Indians in particular, they have a different physical characteristics. They have low muscle mass, but they have high fat mass, and typically this is called as thin fat Indian. Now, because of this constitution, the Indians are born insulin resistant, and that continues throughout the life, and it leads to a high risk of non-communicable diseases like cardiovascular problems, diabetes, and others. In some sort of a landmark study along with our collaborators in prospective longitudinal cohorts, we have found that there are certain micronutrients, especially folate and B12, whose levels during the pregnancy influences the birth weight and the body composition. And we have also shown through intervention of folate and B12 before pregnancy that the kids who are born to the mothers who are supplemented with B12, they have better birth weight, and they most probably are at a lesser risk of future development of cardiovascular problems. We have identified the molecular mechanism. We have looked at how the genetic signatures get influenced when they are kids who are born to mothers who are supplemented with B12. I was trying to say that we have identified the molecular mechanism by which the supplementation of B12 to the mothers before and during pregnancy leads to a better fetal birth weight. We show that there are B12 mediated epigenetic signatures which are present at birth, which allow the better utilization of the insulin for the carbohydrate metabolism, and further these signatures persist throughout the life and even at a later stage, so that the risk of development of diabetes at a later stage is prevented. Say again that CRISPR-Cas9 is another blue-eyed boy on the horizon. It has very high potential. Only issue is whenever we use anything which changes the genetic constitution of an individual, the major principle that has to be followed is that there is no harm caused to the individual. Even if there is no benefit, at least there should not be any harm to the individual.
The world meets this month for global climate discussions, and climate action is no longer optional. It is urgent.
Dr. S. Venkata Mohan, Vigyan Shri awardee and internationally recognized expert in bioengineering, explains how microbes, biorefineries, and waste-to-energy technologies can reshape our climate future. Interviewed by Srimati Seema Kumari, Program Executive, Akashvani, Hyderabad.
Your work focuses on bioengineering and environmental biotechnology. Can you explain some of the key applications of bioengineering in addressing environmental challenges?
My work encompasses environment. Whatever I do, it is related to environment. My interest is to use biological routes. So one of the route which I am looking is on waste. Taking waste is not a waste. Waste is a resource. Trying to use waste as a feedstock to produce energy apart from chemicals. The first thing what we started way back in 2005 is looking into metabolic pathway of anaerobic bacteria to restrict methanogenesis so that hydrogen will be the end product apart from fat acids. This is one area which we try to take up to pilot scale. Apart from that, right now biorefineries are very much important to close the loops. We are in linear economy now. We have to go into closed circular economy, which is very much essential in order to mitigate the environmental pollution apart from going towards resource efficiency, which is very major concern in coming days. So in this way, biorefineries will play a major role where they try to take waste basically as a feedstock, integrating with 3 or 4 biological or chemical process, trying to convert that waste into value-added products in a closed-loop approach. So biorefineries, I started working and established a pilot plant. And recently we also focused on establishing effluent treatment plant in a village near to Hyderabad, about 70 kilometers, where the village called Siripuram has traditional Pochampalli weavers, where they try to dye the fabric in their backyard. Near to 70% of people in village are weavers. So this after dyeing, that will go to the domestic wastewater, and it goes to low-lying areas to the agriculture field. So our intention is to address this so that this kind of situation scenario is there throughout India, in length and breadth of India. So this is a model system. We try to establish effluent treatment plant, trying to treat it without adding chemicals by taking into natural-based mechanism as a major thing. Finally with constructed wetland, and trying to use that water for non-domestic purpose so that it will not also affect the environment like when not treated water sending into agricultural lands will have a serious consequence. So this is the project which we are doing right now. Apart from other projects like trying to use bacteria to produce chemicals. So chemicals required fossil-based material to synthetically produce. In way of that, we try to produce biologically by taking CO2 and other waste like succinic acid, like bioplastics. These are the areas which we are working in the domain of environmental bioengineering, I would like to say.
How can bioengineering be used to develop sustainable solutions for waste management and pollution control?
Biological systems or bioengineering, I would like, are natural-based systems. So natural-based systems are very much required right now to design either sewage treatment plant or effluent treatment plant. So integration of biological process on a whole or partly into the treatment systems will have its own sustainable advantage, where it will try to convert the waste which is coming into wastewater into a form of non-toxic products. So it mimics the nature. So when we look into the solid waste also needs to be refined. If we go with biological process, by taking into a conventional way of biomethanization, we can produce methane. or by refining the process, we can also produce chemicals by taking organic fraction of solid waste. In a similar way, we can also look into integrating 2 or 3 biological process, photosynthesis as well as anaerobic metabolism as well as acidogic metabolism, to produce chemicals, energy by taking into account any kind of waste product that is biologically amenable. So these are some of the routes which is being pursued globally, and will have a significant future in coming days to address both material requirement as well as environmental sustainability.
What are some of the emerging trends and innovations in bioengineering that you believe have the potential to make a significant impact in the field of environmental science?
I would like to mention few of the things, particularly the one synthetic biology, where genetically manipulating either microorganism or a photosynthetic organism will be able to convert more CO2 or convert more waste into value-added products, which is of our requirement. Synthetic biology will going to play a major role in coming days in order to fasten treatment process or in order to convert waste into effective byproducts. Apart from that, there is a kind of mechanism which is coming up, particularly with respect to the biological systems, whereby inducing some intermediate electron acceptor, wherein bacteria produce electron, and this intermediate electron acceptor will try to take it and again give to the bacteria. By way of this, we can augment, we can make a biological process more fastened, which can be used for wastewater treatment or which can be used for in a biorefineries. So again, I would like to mention here that bioplastics and biomaterials are major things which is very much required and which required biological process. So again, with reference to photosynthesis, algal biorefineries are going to play a major role in converting CO2 to oxygen apart from proteins. So these will have a significant impact in coming days to establish these refineries will have a long-term impact, positive impact on health products, human health as well as environment. And last I would like to say is regarding the circular economy, which is a major concern. I would like to add circular bioeconomy, wherein our economy at present is a linear economy, which is not sustainable. We are taking materials from Mother Earth and using it. Even though it has functional value, we are sending it into waste into the landfills. So when we go with the circular model, we try to design a process wherein waste which is coming after the first use will be a product or a material feedstock to convert into other kind of products, so that we can keep resources in a circular loop. So that will reduce impact on landfills, environment, apart from not taking the virgin material from Mother Earth. So same material can be used multiple times. So last, carbon capture using biological routes are at present being considered as one of the potential and sustainable routes, where any kind of biocatalyst can convert CO2 directly. That will have very positive advantage.
November also reminds us of the United Nations call for climate resilience. Indian scientists and environmentalists are contributing through innovations in soil microbiology, mangrove conservation, biodiversity mapping, and sustainable agriculture. This decade reminds us that the health of our ecosystems is inseparable from human well-being, and science must remain at the forefront of environmental action.
Known widely as the Lady of Lakes, Srimati Madhulika Chaudhary speaks about protecting lakes, wetlands, and coastal habitats, and why community-led conservation is the future of sustainability.
This year, especially in 2025, you might have observed that there is a lot of temperature and the climate variability, right? Where there should not be any rains, we are facing a lot of rains, or the temperature is changing, which is unexpected. So too much uncertainties has come in our climate change, and which is affecting our farming, which is directly affecting our agriculture. And the earth temperature has increased from 1 degree Celsius to 1.5 degrees Celsius. We tried a lot, but we are not able to reduce it. Now, if we do not want our earth temperature to increase to 2 degrees Celsius temperature, it is very much necessary to restore our wetlands. Too much necessary. So we are now in alarming position. We are now in an emergency situation where we need to reduce the temperature of the earth by increasing the number of the wetlands or by increasing the restoration of the wetlands. So more and more wetlands will actually reduce the temperature of the earth and we will be in a better position. Otherwise, the total climatic condition and the weather conditions of the earth will change, and it may be possible that in the future it is very difficult for us to do agriculture, and if there is no agriculture, there is no food, and no food means no humans. So that is why the wetland restoration or the ecosystem restoration is the high need at this moment. There's a quotation by Abdul Kalam, and he has mentioned that if I need a squirrel, right, so it is something like that. If I need birds, then I will plant a tree, right, that rather than going and catch the birds. So the simple thing is that if you love the biodiversity or if you need a biodiversity, start planting around. But the plant should not be only a kind of showy kind of plant, right? They should be a biodiversity attractive plant. Like you can have a jamun, you can have a peepal, you can have bargad, or you can have mango plants, or you can have, and just leave those plants for the birds to eat. Why we want that, okay, we have 10 mangoes, so we should all eat 10 mangoes. No, our behavior should be, if we have 10 mangoes, 2 mangoes for us, 2 mangoes for parrot, 2 mangoes for somebody else. So our behavior should be like that, right? We should understand that this biodiversity or this earth is not only my right. This is the right of trillions of the species which is living on this earth. And if we really want this ecosystem to be restored, so 5 Panchabhutam, which we call it actually, simply to take care of them, means take care of water, don't waste water. Water is very important for the growth of the biodiversity, right? Secondly, plant more trees. Again, if we have good amount of the number of the trees are home for the biodiversity. Then definitely we should feel that we should not leave any kind of the plastic which is harming any kind of the fire or any kind of our sky or any kind of the soil, right? So all these pollutions we should avoid, and if we are able to avoid all these such kind of the pollutions, our all Panchabhutam will be correct, and if our Panchabhutam is correct, we can actually have a good amount of the biodiversity. So please make it sure that we need from the level of the grass to the level of the elephant, we need all the animals for the survival of the humans. Human cannot survive. Even there is a research that if nobody likes the wasp, but if the population of the wasp is removed or if they are removed from the earth, first species which is completely away from the earth is the humans only. So in those cases, it is very much necessary that all this, which we call as a food chain ecosystem or the scavenger ecosystem, every species should be survive well with the number needed for their. Just understand the producer is your trees, is your grasses, right? They are in the very large number and we need them in a very large number. So the way our triangle, the food chain triangle is going ahead, you will see the population is actually again reducing. So the number of the elephants are very less compared to the number of the grasses, right? The same way, we should control even the population of the humans also. This is also very much important that if the population of the humans is controlled, we will find out even the ecosystem is thriving.
This month, India witnessed another proud moment. ISRO's successful launch of a very heavyweight satellite, a project fondly nicknamed Bahubali.
In a special contribution from Akashvani Bengaluru, Dr. Abhay Pashilkar, Director of CSIR National Aerospace Laboratories, speaks about the engineering marvel behind this feat and what it means for India's aerospace future.
On November 3rd, 2025, ISRO, Indian Space Research Organization, once again created history by launching and successfully placing in the orbit the 4,410 kg CMS-03 communication satellite, its heaviest satellite yet. The strength and power of the rocket that helped achieve the seemingly impossible feat can only be imagined. Launch Vehicle Mark III LVM-3 rocket is aptly nicknamed Bahubali. Noteworthy is that both the rocket as well as the satellite are homegrown, proudly made in India. Today, we have with us Dr. Abhay Pashilkar, Director of CSIR-NAL Bengaluru, who has gracefully agreed to talk to us about this recent achievement in the space technology. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, I want to ask, why is it such an extraordinary and ambitious project to create a rocket that can carry something so heavy in this space?
Yeah, so as you pointed out, we have lifted about 4,400 kgs of payload, what we call the useful part of the entire mission, which will of course be some kind of a satellite which will orbit the Earth. Now the challenge for space exploration has always been that because of the gravity that we have, we need to carry a lot of fuel to be able to even escape the Earth's atmosphere and largely its gravitational influence. So what happens typically is almost 95% of the weight of that rocket is going to be other things other than the payload. So you can imagine a well-constructed rocket would just about 5% of it is the payload. So you can imagine the overall size and scale of the rockets. We have been hearing so many of those rockets now in the private sector in the US as well. We in India also have our own ISRO encouraging people from the private sector to get into this. So clearly, as you rightly said, it is expensive for this reason, that the amount of payload that really goes into space goes at the expense of almost 95% of the fuel and so many other parts of the rocket which are there, which are not really going to eventually be in space. So that's really the reason why having a heavy rocket is really important. And as you can imagine, in future, we have dreams of having a space station, so to provide and stock for that space station, to provide people, to provide their food and other needs, one would have to constantly be doing this, servicing them, transportation through these rockets. So therefore, our ability to have heavier payloads into the orbit would help us to quickly construct a space station which will continue to orbit and provide us a lot more in terms of what we can know about planet Earth, as well as measure or sense about planet Earth, and also our ability to look out into deeper space. Because as you know, given our cities, so it's very hard to be able to penetrate the atmosphere because of the dust and other considerations. So when you want to really do the deep space observation, you want to have that capability, you must have something like a space station or a telescope or some of those instruments in space. So having a very heavy rocket really helps us to position those satellites and space stations. And also we have this ambition of the going to the moon one day. So we need to carry all of that sustenance and support system and the human beings all the way from Earth to the moon. So having again this kind of capability really helps us to be able to achieve those objectives as well.
From heritage to health, from environment to outer space, November reminded us that science is not just in laboratories, but in our culture, our communities, and our dreams.
We hope today's journey through stories, science, and voices inspired you as much as it inspired us.
This Radioscope program is produced by Srimati Seema Kumari and is a contribution from Akashvani, Hyderabad.
Until next time, keep listening, keep learning, and keep believing in the power of science. This is Chetan.
And this is Shruti signing off with a salute to the spirit of Vande Mataram, celebrating 150 years of inspiration and the unending journey of Indian science.
For the Central English Features Unit that came to you from the Delhi station of Akashvani.